What about the institutions coming in? I mean, you've worked on that side as well, and so you kind of know how they think. Do you have any thoughts,
They are
predictions?
they are definitely coming in. I mean, so for instance, D. Shaw, like historically, has always hated, like David, like the founder, always hated cryptocurrency and was pretty against it. And they are trading crypto
Okay. Why did he
now.
hate it?
So, it gets back to this academic point I was making about like when the Bitcoin paper came out, like I think most people in distributed systems just didn't view it as a viable thing because there were a lot of errors in it, and it didn't like the paper and the code base are actually quite different for Bitcoin too. And a lot of the stuff that went into like actually getting it working in practice is what kind of helped it more than like the theory side of things. But like to distributed systems people, it just sounded kind of like a crackpot paper, because there were at that time also there were a lot of like people who were making new databases and saying like, hey, my database like achieves like X million transactions per second, like almost a little bit like blockchain advertising now. But at that time, like that was around kind of the like Web 2, I guess, boom of like e-commerce companies, social media platforms, whatever. And one of the things that, people were always like, people wanted to build sort of enterprise SaaS companies at the time for was like building databases that had way better redundancy, more transactions per second, didn't require a schema, like all these kinds of features that, if you squint enough, you can't get all of them for free. Like you're definitely trading something off, but like venture investors didn't really care. They were just like, yeah, everyone's launching a social network. It's going to have 10 million users. So they like need a better database than Postgres at that time. And so you had this kind of weird explosion. And a lot of academics, people like David, right? He was a professor at Columbia before, were very much skeptical of these types of databases because a lot of those turned out to not work in practice.
Right.
And like they'd raise like $100 million from venture investors and then crash.
Right.
And so like academics tended to view those skeptically, and Bitcoin was in that camp. But I think like, the DeFi was really the thing that, for lack of a better phrase, pilled a lot of the traditional finance people. I think Jump obviously was quite early, but I would say like people like HRT, even I've heard rumors of like Citadel are like really FOMOing in right now. Like HRT has a job description that honestly right now is one of the most hilarious job descriptions I've ever seen, because it basically asks for someone who's an expert in DAOs and DeFi, who also knows hardware programming, and then also like knows a lot of like data science. And it's like very clear that they're scrambling to hire anyone, and they like made this ridiculous like unicorn job description, which there's probably like 2 people in the world who fit that, who would never work, be working for them now. So I think there's definitely a lot of institutions, but the institutions are more on the trading side and less on the brokerage side.
Right.
I think there's also kind of, to your point, Reed Gensler, there's this like older crowd, I guess, is what I'd say, who are like the Fidelities and like the Genslers, who are like, Bitcoin is the only thing that will ever survive. Right. And they're going to die on that hill. And that does mean that like, hey, it's Fidelity and Vanguard. They're going to be very slow about, making funds. Although I do think, they are like, LPs in a bunch of funds that are investing in crypto stuff. I think the question is, at what point are they willing to be like, hey, look, we don't want to spend 20% on your performance fee, and like, we'll do it ourselves. And I don't know when that happens. I do think they're coming though, like way more than last time. Like DeFi, every fintech company is trying to put capital into DeFi, right? Because they have to offer yield to their users,
right?
And they have no other, like, where else are they going to get yield?